The movie I have chosen to review is Independence Day. I have enlisted the help of my daughter, Karina, for this review. The plot of the movie is that aliens have entered the Earth's atmosphere and are coming to destroy human life on it so that they can have exclusive access to the resource that is upon the Earth. Previously, the aliens have visited a few other planets and have done the same thing, and they have used up those resources, and so now they're in search for more resources, so that's why they're on Earth. In the end, the aliens are defeated, of course, with us by the use of a virus that is uploaded into the aliens' main computer system. Here, we have a wonderful cast starring Will Smith as Captain Hiller. This is one of the first films that kicks off Mr. Smith's Mr. July alias. After this film, Mr. Smith had a few films that came out in the month of July. The character he plays in this film seems to be tailored to him. In essence, he simply is allowed to play himself, adding to the movie's believability. To assist him in his role, we have Bill Pullman, who plays the president. A little backstory on the president in this movie is that he's also an ex-fighter pilot, and in the end of the movie, he actually leads the surge against the aliens. We also have Jeff Goldman as a scientist. His name is David Levinson. He plays as a scientist. He's the one that kind of breaks the code, that understands there's a countdown, shows what's going on, and helps get things kicked off. Then we have Randy Quaid. His role is a man named Russell. Russell here, he's a drunk. He's also a former fighter pilot who has claimed for years that he's been abducted by aliens. There are also other notable cast members that help round out this film. The cast supports each other very well throughout the movie.
I really enjoyed this cast also, but I also feel like they could have developed the characters a little better. I mean, I think we're kind of just left without much of a backstory with really any of the characters.
Yeah, I can see how you say that, but I don't think that knowing more about the characters would have helped the movie at all. I don't think there would have been any deeper understanding. I think it was more important to know what the characters were doing than to know why they were doing it. So I believe that's probably why the director went in this direction as far as not necessarily feeling like they needed to develop the characters as much.
Throughout the film, there are multiple head tilts to films in the past. So, like, in the opening shots with the mothership on the move, kind of looked like a reference to old Star Trek episodes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I would dig a little deeper into Star Trek. I would even go to say that more like Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, when I'm watching that open credit scenes and I'm seeing the mothership come in and I'm seeing what they're doing with the lighting and how it casts this dark shadow over the earth as the mothership begins to come in and the music starts to play, oh man, I go right back to The Empire Strikes Back. And I start to get the feel like Darth Vader's in that ship and he's sitting in there and he's getting ready to talk to Luke and he's going to say, Luke, I am your father.
Okay, but what was with them finding out about the invasion through digital signals? I mean, there's a scientist there whose only job it is to observe outer space. So this was kind of a stretch for me as far as realism goes. It was a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I can see your point about that. But I think ultimately what's happening here is you're just taking the film too seriously. I mean, this isn't a serious film. It's I would say, a comedic, fun film, a science fiction film. So it has a lot of lightheartedness to it. So I think when the producers and directors and the screenwriters were making the film, that's the kind of mind that they had. And so I think we have to give them a little bit of latitude in some of the things that maybe not seem as realistic, and just know that we're going to have to use our imaginations a little bit.
Well, I mean, I can see a little. That's one thing, but parts of this movie require me to stretch my imagination so far to the point where I'm questioning the director's motive. I mean, explain to me how the alien aircraft can deflect missiles, but it can't withstand crashing into a mountain. Like, what is that?
Yes, that is a great point. That is one of those areas where you're gonna have to stretch your imagination a little bit, and you're gonna have to, you know, have that little latitude there. There's also elements where Will Smith goes, and I think right after that Will Smith goes and he sees the alien and he punches him and he knocks him out. But later in the movie they explain how the alien is actually in this cast, and so he didn't really punch the alien. So how did he knock him out? And so yeah, it does lead to some unbelievable aspects of it. But I think we still have to give them a little latitude on that. So I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that one.
Okay, fair enough. I really enjoyed the pace of this movie, though. I mean, for a 2.5 hour movie, time seemed to just like go by. I mean, the director did a great job keeping the movie moving swiftly and really only slowed down to emphasize details that otherwise would have just gone unnoticed.
Swiftly, though. I mean, I think that's an understatement. I mean, he was all over the place in certain parts of this film. I remember the scene in the president's office when he's talking to his cabinet. We got subjective view, objective view, then over the top view, then an indirect view, then a director's view. I mean, he has so many views over here. I'm nauseated. I feel like I need Dramamine or that I'm going to get seasick. So, yes, quick, but I think he could have slowed it down a little bit.
Well, right here I have to disagree again. I actually really enjoyed that whole montage effect of the film. I really enjoyed that kind of action like that. It just kind of adds suspense. So I found it really interesting. Another thing I find interesting about this film is they don't use a whole lot of CGI. I think that definitely adds a lot of realism to the film as well. I mean, I have to admit it's a little difficult to embrace films where the realism is kind of lacking. So,
yeah. No, I again, though, I guess I have to agree with you on this one too. In this film, they use a lot of models. So in the opening shots in the Earth, you have the footprint. Those things are all models. And when they destroy the White House and when they destroy the Empire State Building, I think these are all models that they built that they used to destroy. Even the ship was a model that wasn't CGI. Created a lot of explosion scenes. They actually did explosions, so that was great. But there was one scene, I think toward the end of the film, I think that's total CGI, where the mothership is destroyed and it implodes on itself. That's total CGI. I think that's the only total CGI actual part of the film. But I think it actually enhances the film. So when they did use CGI, they used it really well. My imagination of what I think a ship of that magnitude would look like imploding with all of the lasers and the power that it has in it was kind of like that. So I think they did it very, very well in that. In the end, I believe this is a great patriotic film, tapping into the elements that make America the great melting pot. They cover things like race, they have gender, they have class. All are depicted in this film. All are still underneath the umbrella of America. This blockbuster film is leading us to give it 4 stars, in our opinion. Thank you for watching our review, and I hope you enjoyed it.